We are live.
Hey everybody, it's Dale Jr. for the Dale Jr. Download. We are live on our Ask Junior portion of the show. This is brought to you by Xfinity. They are a premier partner for NASCAR and our podcast, and you're a partner for fast internet. We're really appreciative of their support. They support our sport in a lot of ways and are a great company. I'm actually on Xfinity Internet as we speak. So looking forward to some great questions here that you guys are sending in. Leah's going to be handling all this stuff. Mike Davis is here as well if he wants to chime in. Matthew Dillner is going to take a break. So, Leah, you ready?
Yeah. The most asked question this week, Dale, you got something going on this weekend. How are you preparing? How are you feeling going into Homestead?
Well, I just got an email from Tony Mayoff, who is part of our brand team, telling me what to expect this weekend. And this is, I'm experiencing this for the first time. All the drivers in the series, in the Xfinity Series, Truck Series, Cup Series have been, going through this process and this type of protocol for many, many weekends. But it's really unique because I'm doing it for the first time. I'm gonna fly into Homestead the day of the race. I'm probably gonna wait till the last possible minute to get there. Maybe if I can push it to about an hour before the race starts, I'll probably do that. And because once I get there, I have to go through a screening process to get into the racetrack, a health screen. Once I'm in the racetrack, I have to sit in the car, the rental car. You can't go anywhere. They won't allow, but only 2 people at a time inside the haulers. So there's really nowhere to go. I didn't send my bus down there because I was going to come in the day of the race and leave at the end of the race. So I didn't want to send my driver all the way to Homestead, Florida, just for that, so I could sit in my bus for a little while and be comfortable. So I'm going to try to minimize as much time as I can at being at the racetrack. And I'll put my suit on in the car and grab my helmet and my stuff and walk out to the race car and get in it. And I guess that's how it's going to work. The curious thing for me is I haven't had a lot of opportunities to really sit in the car, drive the car, understand if it's comfortable, if there's anything wrong, if if the mirror's in the right place, or all those little things that you like to take care of during the first few practices. And so there'll be a couple things that might not be exactly right or exactly comfortable as we're racing, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting in the car and just kind of enjoying the experience of driving a race car in competition. And that's really the only reason why I'd even run these races at this particular point in my life, is to just sort of remember the sights and the sounds and the smells. And there's a lot going on, though. They have the Martinsville race tomorrow. So there's weather in the forecast for Martinsville. There's also weather in the forecast for Homestead. And so everything is fluid. If something were to happen at Martinsville, it might delay that event. It could change the schedule for Cup Series and the Xfinity's series at Homestead as well. So we're all just kind of keeping our ear to the ground and staying on the ready.
Next question coming from Alan Stewart. What is your favorite piece of non-racing related memorabilia?
That's probably, man, that's tough. I got a lot of football helmets from a lot of different teams. I just kind of casually started collecting helmets over the years. And as people learned that I had a bit of a collection, I started getting more helmets given to me by friends and folks in the racing circles. So I'm probably up to about 90 helmets of different college and NFL teams. So that's pretty cool, interesting. If I ever got tired of that, I don't know what I'd do with all those helmets, but I don't suspect I will. I got a list of the ones that I still haven't attained to sort of, because when I collect something, I have to complete the, I like to complete the collection. Like I've got the entire catalog of Stock Car Racing magazine. I got the entire catalog of Circle Track Racing magazine, and those started back in the '60s. And finding some of those older issues, there's a bit of a challenge. I'm also I have almost the 90% or 95% of the entire collection of Playboy magazine. And interesting enough, my wife was the one that attained the majority of that collection for me. So yeah, I think that I'm a collector. I like to collect things. There's a couple items right there that I've spent time collecting, and I don't know what I'll do with all this stuff. It's just kind of sitting in I got a library where I kind of keep books and magazines and all kinds of racing stuff. So I have a bunch of magazines and newspapers and just old stuff from racing history in this library. But and it's fun to read. I thumb through it, keep a couple stashes of different eras and different bathrooms in the house, and get some reading in there.
This next question coming in from at NASCAR it is on Twitter. With all the improvements in safety, is there room for improvement in cooling the drivers? And is it even something you feel should be addressed, or is it just part of the sport?
Well, we can always make things better, right? We can always make the sport safer. It's smart to try to, do everything you can to save drivers from injury or anything catastrophic, for sure. So, and we're always doing that. We're always working hard. The cooling side of it is, for the longest time, the culture was that you had to be tough and you had to put up with, you had to put up with it. It was just, this is the way it was, man. And even as recent as the last couple of years, the race teams and the crew chiefs, there's a certain amount of amps that the alternator will put out, and the crew chief wants some of those amps to be able to run certain things on the car. Now the driver is only given X amount of amps to run anything that's going to make him more comfortable, and the crew chief is not going to give you more than he wants to give you. You're not going to be able to, upgrade your cooling box or add additional cooling to the car without drawing amps from somewhere else that's really critical to performance. So that's kind of been the battle between the drivers and the crew chiefs. And it's hard for a driver to say to a crew chief, hey, I'm uncomfortable. The last couple of races have been hot. Is there anything you can do for me? Because he knows he's basically asking the crew chief to give up some performance. And even the driver doesn't want to do that to a point. So you're really walking a fine line there, and you see it at the end of the race in Atlanta. All of those guys, they were pushed to the very edge of what they could do physically. And so, and we do everything in racing that way. We push everything to the very edge for performance. And nothing, you can't leave anything on the table that might help you run faster. And so, while, if they open up a NACADUC in the window, that's going to create aero issues for the car and change the way the air works on it. It's not as easy as just like, hey man, just funnel air into the car through NACADUCs and so forth. That could slow you down. That could affect how the air works around the rest of the race car and how the crew chief wants that air to move away or off the car. So it's a tough thing. The more they work to try to get the car to be streamlined and have the air work around the car the way they want it to, it really makes the air inside the car stagnant. There's not a ton of clean air coming in, and there's not a lot of air moving in the car. And that just, all that air and that what's inside the car, the cockpit of the car, just continues to cook and to warm and I mean, even in the past 5 or 10 years, we might not even run the heat shields on the car in between the pipes and the chassis, which that transfers a tremendous amount of heat into the roll cage and into the interior of the car. And you'd have to maybe request to the team, hey, it's going to be a 95-degree day. You'd think we could put the heat shields on, and they will, but they don't go in to preparation with those pieces because it's weight or it's going to affect a performance some way, somehow. So they try to keep those race cars stripped down as much as possible. So I certainly think that the technology will continue to improve. The heat boxes have gotten smaller, lighter. That's all critical to performance, and that path will improve, and soon enough, one day I'm sure driver comfort won't be an issue. We won't have, races where guys are passing out and having a tough time with the conditions.
You mentioned Atlanta, and we got a question from Mike Bost. What was your opinion with everything going on at the end of pit road that happened in Atlanta this past weekend?
With Bubba?
With all the games they were playing for coming off of pit road for to line up on the preferred lane. Yep.
That's kind of something's been going on for a long time. That until the drivers are given a cone rule or until teams are allowed to have lane choice beyond the front row and the starter, the controller of the restart, guys are going to have to decide, do I want to be on the inside? Do I want to be on the outside? And then they're going to have to count and look around at the cars around them on pit road and decide, do I need to be in front of this guy to restart in the proper lane? To me, as a driver, it's a pain in the butt. It's not a lot of fun having to play those games. They don't want to play those games. Drivers, really, be honest with you, they only want to race, run around the track, run the fastest lap, take the lead, win the race. That's all we really care about. We don't want to do fuel mileage. Thankfully, we don't have to. Thankfully, there's an engineer to do that. We don't want to have to really try to set the car up ourselves. Luckily, we got crew chiefs and engineers. We like to participate in that, but I mean, we don't want to do things outside of that sort of central focus of just being quick and being fast and having raw speed and great ability. So these, playing games or doing anything that's sort of gimmicky, I remember when fuel mileage was becoming even more and more critical, so much so that when we would start the car, gentlemen, start your engines, crank the car. Okay, turn it off because we need to save fuel. Wait till the pace car moves off pit road to fire it back up. Okay, now the pace laps are happening and we're going to have a green flag, but cycle the car so we can save fuel. The race hasn't even started yet. And I'm saving fuel. We got another 400 miles to go. What in the world? That to me was one of the most frustrating things that I did inside a race car. And playing games off the end of pit road to try to put myself in that right position to do restart in the right lane it goes in that same box for me. I'm not a fan of it, but you have to do it. I mean, if you want to be competitive, have the best opportunity to have the best restart, make the most positions on that restart, you have to do it.
You hated that cycling and everything, but it was the best time to be on your radio channel.
Golly.
It was fantastic.
I tell them now when they're like, hey, can you save some fuel? I'm like, nope.
This radio's breaking up here. Can't follow you there, crew chief.
I ain't doing that anymore.
That's not in the strategy this weekend, huh?
Yeah, hopefully not.
All right. A lot of people are asking, we're all kind of in different scenes and what we've been. Mike's obviously in the studio and people want to know what's the new piece of sheet metal behind you, Mike?
Oh yeah.
You know what? I just learned about this as I sat down. I think Matthew said is a Hut Strickland.
Bobby Hillen.
Bobby Hillen. Oh yeah. Bobby Hillen sheet metal. I don't know where it came from. Every time you come into this studio, there's something new here. And that is a fact. I mean, there's just new things that pile up that people send stuff to Dale. They end up in the studio now. So I don't know where did this come from? Anybody know? Matthew?
I think Dale might.
Dale doesn't know. He clearly doesn't
He
know.
doesn't know.
Isn't it great when she
We don't know. Hey, if you send it to us though, and you're on this, thank you.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it. Looks great.
Means a lot. It is good to be back in the studio though. I can't wait for Dale to be back in here.
Super jealous.
Where's Dale? Dale,
I'm not in town.
He's in a white in the white room.
Yes.
Everything.
Well, I've got Dale's race car out my window. That's the first thing I saw when I came in this morning. I was like, oh,
Nice.
hey, that has Dale's name on the above the window. That's cool.
I saw it as well a couple days ago. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's it for today.
Hey, everybody. I appreciate y'all tuning in to the Ask Junior portion of the show. Brought to you by Xfinity. They are the premier partner of NASCAR and this podcast, and they're your partner with fast internet. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the questions. Great questions. Appreciate you guys supporting our show. Hope you'll listen to the rest of the podcast when we get it out here to you in the next several hours. So thank you very much.